Hi there, it's Kevin Brown here at the Mind Masters podcast. This is the Mindset and Mental Health podcast. We are bringing episode 9 to you this time. I am really looking forward to introducing someone that I think you're going to really enjoy hearing from. He's a friend of mine, a good friend of mine. He's an inspirational character, even though he probably doesn't realise it. My good friend Darren Anderson. Darren is a long-term friend from where I actually grew up. His journey in terms of his journey from boy to man to plan is really unbelievable. We will try our best today to cover a lot of that, and we're going to allow it just to run raw and uncut. But we're going to try and get a real insight into Darren's take on mindset and mental health, what's impacted him, what's shaped him, and where he is today. So welcome, Darren. Really buzzing to have you on, mate. Really buzzing to let people hear your story. How are you doing?
Aye, good. Thanks for having us today. I'm looking forward to it. I'm not 40 minutes finished, all right enough.
Of course, I know it's a nervous thing, isn't it, when somebody says...
I'm not usually nervous, but a wee bit of butterflies, but that's good.
No, that's good, and that'll soon. I'm hoping once we start to get into this, basically a good conversation, that will start to die away. I know when we announced on socials we were getting you on. Certainly, I know a lot of people who know bits of your story are already excited to hearing it. So when we talk about mindset and mental health, you and I have chewed the fat, as you say, many times about both subjects. You've been involved in certainly a lot of things in your life, and your journey's taken a lot of twists and turns. Mindset and mental health, I guess right off the bat, what does mindset and mental health mean to you?
Well, it could be either way, isn't it? It's good or bad, isn't it? It's you could have a bad mindset equals a bad mental health, or you could have it flip. Just a minute, my mindset, I don't really know. My mindset is nothing will beat me now. Nothing. Obviously, I'll have down days and I'll feel full of fear and can I do this, or am I still that person or whatever. But I've had enough tools now, with enough good people in my life, enough coping mechanisms where I can flip it and just say, no, do you know what? Fuck this. This is happening. Nothing's going to stop this. This is what I want. Just focusing. So that equals my mental health.
So where does how because I know that when we talk about, in particular, the word recovery is going to feature a lot in this chat, right? And I'm going to allow you to just go where you need to go with that. How far back do we start in terms of your story? Where does your road through the trials and tribulations, a challenged or broken mindset, or poor and strong mental health, how far back in your early life do you go that you can remember, that you're consciously aware of when you were being affected by things?
Long ago, it.
Go for it.
Probably. I'll just start as in I don't really do much stories in my past life. I don't know how. I don't know. But so the area I'm from, high crime rate, poverty, all that stuff. But when you're young, you're not aware of it. So for Irvine, went road. So it was a big, strong gang culture. But it was just daft ways. It wasn't like Paul Ferris kind of gang stories. Do you know what I mean? It was just so we grew up just daft ways, no knowing any better. Late 80s, early 90s. Drugs started to come in. Our parents, most of our parents were drink problems or alcoholics, whatever you want to call it. So we started taking drugs at an early age. Then just for there. So, but before that, to be honest, before that, I was never, even though getting any drugs maybe about 11 or something. It was quite, depending on your narrative. In my area, it was quite late. Early age, I'd been quite young, but so I taken them being basically fit in. So my mental health, I learned this in recovery. My mental health was probably bad when I was a young man, but you didn't have all these labels then. So you could be in the easiest way to describe it, you could be in a room full of people, full of your loved ones that love you to bits, but you don't feel part of it. You don't feel anywhere in the world. You don't feel. Then introduce drugs into the mix and you're part of everything. Do you know what I mean? Just in your own head though, that's in your head that you're. So just for the end, then it was just maybe just a lot of veins, at my age and my age, and it just started progressing. The best way I can describe it is Wolf of Wall Street. I seen an interview with him, and they were just basically saying, "So how could you rob the real woman?" He's like, "No, wait a minute, I didn't plan to do that. I was just going to rob the millionaires and the billionaires, and every time I done it, my moral line crossed. So I maybe started with smoking cannabis. I'll never take pills. But then my line had crossed, and before I know it, 10, 20 years later, I'm shooting smack."
So when you talk about this early time, things are starting to get a bit chaotic, but you probably don't recognise it as chaotic. It was more normality. So what was home life like? What was the environment like, for you at this point where you're starting to kind of take a bit of a steering path off what's the norm, if you like?
My home life was good, believe it or not. All my needs catered for. I had loving parents, hard working, but I didn't. I picked the streets. I picked for a young age. The streets were my life. I was a geek. Even I'm a pure dead now, but I was a geek growing up. Chess clubs. I couldn't talk. I was like nearly 5. My big brother done a lot of talking for me. I actually couldn't talk. Nobody could articulate what I was saying. So I was a geek for reading. So I never fitted into the culture was where I was from. But once I flipped that mindset as a young age, so I didn't know I didn't know about mindset then, but I'd made the conscientious decision, no, I don't want a family life. I want to have a life in the street. Jumping off buildings, shouting winning toy, and all that anti-establishment stuff. So that was so my mindset was for a young age, but it was for a negative impact. It was to change the. So my home life was good, loving parents, my mum cooking, clothes. Maybe not the best like everybody else, but it was still provided for. My dad was hard working, so a good family life.
So what comes next then? So things are good, as good as they can be at home. You're starting to make some decisions that you're starting to grow an identity of who at that point you're choosing to become. You're starting to get yourself into trouble and stuff and get yourself involved in different things. What comes next then?
So just further into fighting, breaking into shops. So my mum and dad split up. My mum remarried. Couldn't accept another guy into my family home. So all the problems that caused, then the problems it caused me and my mum. Then that went on. Going to academy school. Could tell basically for academy like that, sure, like you're not going to be an ed. But then I probably wasn't that bad, to be fair, me a class clown. But it's like the like attracts like, so I ended up becoming that person. Fighting, getting suspended, getting expelled. My mum get me back into school, getting expelled again. So I'll tell you a story. So once I got expelled, right, near school would take me. So they were going to take me and send me to St Michael's. So before this, I'm not a bigot now, but when I was younger, I didn't really know much better. So I remember they were going to take me to St Michael's, and I'm into head teachers with my mum, and they're saying, right, blah blah blah, you'll be going to St Michael's school, and I was like, aye, so I will. And next minute, I've taken my jacket off, and I've got a big red Horn Ulster t-shirt on. So that was it, boom, like just on you go. So at 15, I get told to leave school. So it was wee, to me, it was funny. It was a funny story. I was going to show them, they're not going to send me to St Michael's, but it probably, from that point, set me on the path to which I later was.
So you leave school, 15, into into the adult world, if you like.
Yeah, the world.
Into the adult world, still a boy, really. Where are you at this point in terms of your headspace, and what's your aspirations at that point? Can you go that far back? Do you remember?
I try to catch myself. I try to join the RHF,
Right.
and all the way up to Edinburgh. Go to Edinburgh. First night there, Sergeant Major, somebody said something. Need to take the dairy. I tell me to fuck off. Tell me today, burpees or whatever. Says, no, I'm not doing it. And so I left the next day. Come back, tried to go to college, but it was no, everything was just a wee, it was half-hearted attempts.
These attempts, were these attempts half-hearted because you truly weren't ready, or was it because you know what everything else you were getting up to it with?
No, it was more just then. It was looking back. I was probably already an addict, but no a functioning addict, as you say.
Aye, that's what I mean.
Years later, I wasn't functioning, but by then I was a functioning addict. So I was into Eki. I loved my drug of choice then was Ekis and diazepam, Valium.
Yeah, so for you to be able to really give your go all in, as they say, and apply to yourself to an interview or an adult setting, it was never really going to work, was it?
No, it wasn't happening. No, I thought you could have both. I thought you could maybe my nature, my street nature, my learned behaviours would have told me then I could have had both. Because I've seen other folk doing it, but they probably weren't as bad as me at the time. I was probably worse. Looking back, in fact, you know something, I've never really looked at. I've been aware of who I was. I've never really, so it's probably bad then. I only thought I'd get bad with the harder drugs, but I think that's when my name started to be like nobody really wanted to be near me because I was unpredictable with the drugs in me. I was quite, and I think I got off in that a wee bit, to be fair.
Play into that character.
I play into that character, aye.
Because at that sort of age and with that sort of what comes with that, it's difficult to back away from it, isn't it?
And it's no glamorous, but it's the lad style, isn't it? You get fully it. You wreck a house, you're fighting, you're in clubs, you're in the metro or whatever. Out your nut, jog on, full of Valium, so you're up and you're doing, and then you just cause it, and you think you hear your name get mentioned in houses, and you think it's all a shite. You know what I mean? You're a legend in your own heat. In my head, I was a legend, but
so here's a situation we're developing now. So people will be listening to this podcast, so they'll start. And I like to build this picture for people. So here we are. What age are you at this point?
15, 16.
So, but by now, so say you've tried the army, you've tried the college, you're at clubbing and all that. So you're maybe slightly older by now.
Aye, so this went on from 16 to like 18.
So somewhere between 16 and 18-year-old boy for a small town in Ayrshire. You're clearly starting to go over the rails. No really fully identifiable to yourself. How are you now affecting the people that care about you and things like that? That good family that you come from, and that. How is now the stage you're at starting to affect the wider circle round about you?
If you asked that person then, I would have said that I wasn't. Because in my head I wasn't involved in them, but so they tried different. I got an apprenticeship as apprentice bricklayer with some of my family, on and off, taking days off, taking weeks off, then exploiting the family to go back. Now looking back, I'm fully aware of the effects I caused illnesses, especially with my brother. It's only later when I went to rehab, I thought he wasn't sleeping for years, and in my mind, because I wasn't in their company, I'd remove myself, like I said, for a young age. I picked the streets, but because I hadn't developed mature and emotional, I thought that was right. You know what? I love my family, so I'll just take them out of the equation there. I'm over here. I'm in the darkness, basically, and they're there with street lights and the one they know anything, but they were fully aware, so I caused a lot of damage, a lot of hurt, a lot of pain, probably a lot of illnesses, a lot of trauma. Sometimes you'll never ever be able to make amends. You know, it's just a sad reality people that choose my life. You can try and you can be a better person, but a lot of damage has been done, a lot of hurt and pain. And
But do you recall that? If you look back now, do you see it? Do you see the implications there? Can you see your parents, and can you see how much, can you see that now?
in my two grands, I can see it in my grands.
Your grands. Were you closer there? Were there kind of more in-depth relationships?
Yeah, more emotional relationships, aye. Two different people, two different type of women, but the same love for me. Unconditional love for a grandparent, isn't it? It's an unconditional, you can't do any wrong, you're always, so probably, and I was looked upon as a wee, poor dad and the middle child syndrome, and I probably used that to my advantage to get away with my behaviour. So I did see it, but I seen it, but I didn't want to recognise it, I didn't want to act on it, I didn't. Tell me maybe, only one of the grands seen me in recovery, so it took me nearly 20 years till I acted on it. So
okay, so what comes next? What if you were to break it down into stages? What comes next?
So next was so this was a late comer and off for me. This was in my area and culture, so that prison at 18. Then it was just a revolving door.
And again, I guess you probably get two takes on this. You could answer this in two different ways. At the time, this probably felt like a graduation for you.
It was.
I'm the man, but now you'll probably have a different take. Give me both takes on this next stage.
So I'll give you a take when I was my first prison sentence. I think my first sentence was so it was so. I'm laughing, but I'm not laughing as in it's smart. I'm laughing. I've spoke to you about this. When I'm reaching into this, it's a different person.
Yeah.
Even so, reading the bio. Sorry, I'm going after that. So reading your bio. So even though I wrote that, when I read that, I don't agree. I'd actually regret reading that because I was like, that's just, who is that person? It's just, It sounded like no life, but there was a life. But so it breaks my community service. I had tons of chances to repeat it. I never done it. And this was my mindset then. So everything's mindset, everything. At court, some of the boys were in court too, but I wasn't even, I can remember standing up in court. Judge is saying to me, right, blah, 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 have you anything to say? And I just said, no surrender. I get 3 months and that was it. Going down the stairs, I had a pair of sunglasses on, put the sunglasses on, and the screws like, what the fuck you doing, you dafty? Just kicked me down the stair.
Mm-hmm.
And go in the jail, and it was a home for home, like you say, it was a graduation. We went to the DC detention centre, there was still detention centres there. And looking back, so naive, boys were asking me, like, are you applying for interim lib? And I didn't even know what interim lib was. And I'm like, no. Anti-screw crew, bro, and back to back, a canter, and a lot of shite. So I done 6 weeks. Got out. I think I moved in with my mom. But then I was a secret heroin addict then. I was secretly.
Did that begin inside then?
Nah, I'd love to say it did.
No.
It started. It was a weekend thing. It was so we were two groups of pals. With the pals that loved dancing and going out, and I did as well. And with another group of pals that just loved it was the drugs. And so they used to sneak away. But they were the ones that always looked as if they were having the best time. But I was also going out addict hunting. So we used to go out and batter folk at taking heroin. That's how deluded we were. We were delusional. And
so you're not just living one double life. You're living a couple.
Multiple.
So you're living in this life that you don't agree with that choice, but you're also making that choice behind. So you're playing up to many characters at this point.
Well, I don't even see it. I don't even know who I was. So it was many faces, many people.
See that point, Dan. See when you're away when you're on your own. See, this is going to take you right back. You know, was there ever moments on your own at that point? I'm not looking for were you remorseful or anything like that, because we're going to get into the stages that come next. See, when you're at that point, I always say it's very, very difficult for people to keep up things like that, to keep that up. You're keeping up quite a lot at that point for many different people. Was there ever moments of like despair of how you were going to keep that up and where you were going? Maybe moments when you were on your own, lying in your bed. Were you ever like, what not so much what am I doing, because that's not going to come till later, but you were just a bit,
to be honest, not to you. So I say I was taking drugs every day then, right? But it was weird. So I spoke to only a couple of people about this, because it's people only really get it if you're an addict. I used to take drugs every day, then do stop. I would never, so I could stop with the heroin, I could stop with the coke, with the Valium, and I'd be all right. So I was never aware. So I wasn't an addict. In my mind, I wasn't an addict. Addicts rattle and see them shuffling about the town, and do you know what I mean? And just I'm not stigmatising anybody. This is just my truth. This is my reality. So I was never ever hungry. So years later, I remember saying, "Do you know something? I'm going to stop doing this." And I lied about I was withdrawn. And see, when I lied, see the next day, do you know what happened? I started withdrawing. So if in my head I wasn't an addict, so my body wasn't listening to it. But once I'd accepted I was, once I lied, then I went into withdrawal, and that's the point I started to. But it was only when I never had drugs. When I had drugs, to be fair, I never gave it much consideration. It was I only cared about drugs. Drugs were me.
Yeah.
Nobody else mattered.
No. So you're spiraling. This is probably to people listening that's probably starting to see that you're just starting to spiral now. Where does it take you next?
So before I'd even go to that stage, I spent another couple of years in and out of prison.
Yep.
But it was no big deal. There was wee moments that I seen my parents and my brother and other loved ones hurting, and I wrote them all the jail letters, that'll be me, blah blah blah. This is it. This is the last time I've recognised what I've done. But then, so that prison was a punishment then, and it was for people like me. We kind of like being punished in a kind of weird sense. Do you know what I mean? It was everything was black and white then. There was no mitigating circumstances. There was no, he done this because X, Y, or Z. No, he done this, so he's getting punished, and you just accepted the punishment. You done your time, you got out, and that was it, kind of light. Do you know what I mean? That was society. You'd paid your debt to society, but I never knew then. I was in fact for years I'd owed a big debt to my family and community, so I never really knew that then. I didn't want to know it. Even if you told me, I would have laughed at you. You'd have been a dafty to me.
Yeah, you would be oblivious to that, numb.
I'd have been oblivious to it.
So then
just the drugs, then just injecting every day, anything I could get. But 21, so you wouldn't really known. You'd have known I was a druggie. Do you know what I mean? But you wouldn't have, by the age of 21, that's when everybody knew I was a fully fledged heroin addict. So it was. My parents stopped, so I'd always cared about my clothes and appearance, but by 21, I can remember getting my 21st birthday. Now it's a big birthday, and you get all the money and you get everything else. And once I'd spent that, I'd make a decision that I wasn't hiding it anymore. That was me. I was an addict. out shoplifting, screwing shops, robbing dealers, robbing people and all, because nobody ever had a need, and if I couldn't satisfy it, I was going to take it.
So I am assuming then that all care about yourself really had died at that point.
You're just fuck, this is probably a reason how I don't hang me. So years I can remember when I felt like shit, when I wanted to come out, I thought I was going to die an addict, and I didn't. I was just a shell. Do you know what I mean? There was no. I was a shell. I was nothing to me. There was a zombie. Do you know what I mean? I was like the Walking Dead. I was. Give me a crack pipe and I could be. In fact, I thought I could be the life and soul of the party, but I was at 6 stone soaking wet. Do you know what I mean? My body, I'd nearly died. I was in hospital for months and couldn't walk and down to 4 stone. But there was nothing. There was the need. The need was that monster in me. There was a hole in me. There was a monster that just need nothing could fill it except dogs. In fact, even dogs couldn't fill it. To be honest, it was something I probably needed to address or whatever, but never came years later.
So,
just pure doom, pure. You know what I mean?
So what sort of span of years does this period cover?
So I started injecting heroin when I was 18. I think I stopped. I don't count my recovery years anymore.
Yeah.
So maybe about 6-7 years ago, so I'm 40, 41. Do you say 6 years ago in recovery? What age is that? 35. So from 18 to 35. Maybe about 8 years in prison. Then all the other years in prison as well, obviously using drugs. That was sometimes even using more.
Yeah.
Then coming out and just coming out with a habit. Do you know what I mean? There was no sobriety even in prison. There was no healing. There was no taking courses to learn stuff. There was no later years. It sounds my later years of prison changed, and I didn't like it. Later years it was a mere person-centered approach, and to me I didn't like it. Folk call me my first name and courses to get better, and what's that all about?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it does work. But for my mindset, then it was right or wrong, and you were just a number. For years, I was just a number.
We'll go into some stuff and some other stuff in a second. I'll share with people that's listening a story that Darren and I have. We weren't always as close as we are now. For folk that listen to this podcast, and there's a story that before Darren and I became pretty close, that I shared with Darren. Now, I've never lived the life of a saint, but Darren can understand there is a difference between what is a perceived, addict and the addict life to someone who, back then at that point, you're a recreational, fully functioning, kind of weekend, party boy. So I wouldn't recognise myself back then as, well, I have nothing in common with Dan at that point. And Dan and I shared a truth really that, I found it, quite, I wouldn't say I was ashamed, but, I was embarrassed by the fact that I recalled an occasion. Dan wouldn't remember because he was totally flying, but I remember seeing Dan in the town that we're from. This is many, many years ago, and I crossed the street because I knew the type of conversation that would be coming next, and I thought about that, a lot about how much I love his company now, and I love talking to him. We've got so much in common now. We can talk about things like this conversation, and I think, at that time, and I think about how many other people are in that situation, and everyone's crossing the street. Nobody wants to be near them. Nobody wants to speak to them because they know how submersive that conversation could become. The person wanting money, the person wanting just basically holding them back from their day. but then you just don't know what's around the corner. For all the people that, and Darren's got much more an insight into this than me, but you just don't know what's around the corner, you don't know what can come next. And look at this for an absolute example of that. Here we are sitting, and you know, you guys so far have only heard about the background of the younger version of Dan, but there's much more to come about what he's going to evolve into. But my God, it doesn't half make me think about that moment and how many different ways that this whole thing could have turned out for him and for me. This isn't just about the story of Dan's recovery. This is also about the story of, you know, how many more people are like me at that point that think that they're not the same, that think that they are so much higher than that person just because visually they look better. Internally, they're not doing any better. And in actual fact, they're probably just rolling the dice. They're just getting away with it. Which I'm sort of throwing that out there, Dan, for folk to hear, but you'll remember this chat we had about this, buddy. And
I can remember it, and listen, I totally get it there. I just said about taking drugs while going out and hunting people that take drugs. So there is a hierarchy of drug takers as well. There's even heroin. If I'm kind of off topic, but it ties into it. So even if you inject heroin, the people that smoke it will look into them. Then you've got the cocaine users. If you snort cocaine, you look down at the people that smoke crack. Then the people that inject cocaine. Then you've got people who take prescription drugs, or look down at people who buy street drug versions of the drugs. So there is a hierarchy. That's in the bio it says the lie is dead. So what that means is that was like the recovery section with that. It means so what society tells you what addiction is, then your take on it is a lie, because the reality is it's all the same. So even though my clays were wrecked, internally we were causing the same amount of damage. Yeah. It was just some people with a better quality of life, whether it's eating, family, your spiritual, your emotional, your community capital, your social capital. Just at that period of time, I didn't have any of them, and you maybe die them. Yeah. But internally, you were wrecked. Do you know what I mean? If you could attain an X-ray, I'll just use you and me. We would have probably internally, I would have probably more physical elements. But if you were looking at an emotional point of view, probably maybe similar. There would be a lot more similarities.
Well, in actual fact, probably you could argue that emotionally you would be more numb to the highs and lows of it, because you were sustaining. I just don't as opposed to, you know, me at that much younger age, you know, would be all in at the weekend, you know, trying to run away from whatever I was trying to run away from, and you know, try to live up to a persona, a character, but then trying to then fully function through
during the week
and act like I'm good, you know, but you know, biting the face off those run about you for the Monday through the Wednesday, and then starting to think, well, that's me good again. I was at the weekend already, you know. So you were living a lie, and you were trying to play it down, whereas you were just purely sustaining that numbness from it. You know, you were able to sort of probably block out those emotions even further.
I think it's just maybe accepted that perception of reality at the time.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I knew I accepted it. Then it was just a gradual. In fact, it wasn't a gradual, because the drug taking was always bad. It was just a physical deterioration, because I ended up in comas, my body shut down, couldn't feel my legs, my kidneys packed in, septicemia, had blood clots, hepatitis, you name it. It was, and my body was my mum was in Bulgaria, and so she had to come back, so I wanted to turn my machine off. That's how bad it was. They didn't think I was going to make it through the night, and then she said, "No, we'll just wait." A couple of weeks later, I came out of the coma. It took me 2 months to feel my legs again, to walk. set up. I think maybe that was my first kind of taste of recovery. But when I got out, I switched to drugs.
Mm-hmm.
So I've just take other drugs. I was in hospital 6 months. So still kind of.
So what age are you at this point, Dan? Because you've just sort of moved into that stage there. So what age are you at that point?
26.
So 26-year-old. Let's summarise that. You've nearly died. You could have had your machine switched off. You're in a bad way. And the first thing you do when you come out is get right back to it.
Aye, but different drugs.
Yeah.
Because then it made sense. So it was prescription drugs.
Right.
But I had a lot of outstanding charges, so there was, in my mind, there was no point. Now I think I could have started the road to recovery. I knew I was getting a prison sentence because I brought so healed in prison, let my body heal. But then at the same time, I'm a big believer everything happened for a reason. So me getting to prison, I did have a period of healing because I was like 6 stone or something. I was even coming out of hospital, I was about 6 stone.
Yeah.
So I got out of prison, filled up. Then I started, there was wee periods. I had a son by then as well. So Taylor was born then, but I was no role model. I was no father figure then.
So are you sort of starting to dwindle between the two paths at this point? Are you, because I know what's coming next, so I know people are going to hear this, but I know when it switches. But so your son's born, you've been through this, you've sort of changed the type of thing that you're taking. Your charges. There's a lot of charges and stuff. Where's the mindset at this point? Is it starting to question the path you're on in any way? Is there a slight glimmer that it's thinking about it?
I was on methadone at the time, so once I got out of prison, I had a period of stability. Maybe no, the day not right. Do you know what I mean? No day. So I'll get on to later, but I'm a big harm reductionist. So no, what I know now is I was probably practicing harm reduction. So I was stable in my methadone, for about 4 years, and I was a good parent. You know, I was a good parent then, but there was old behaviours coming in, and I got prison again, and then that set me back. So I'd set myself back by getting prison for years. Do you know what I mean? That was so for 26 till then. It was just a repeating of patterns. It was mid prison, wee jakey sentences for shoplifting, stupid things, coming out, drugs, blah blah blah. But so even all through that, there was heroin. I liked heroin for some. I liked it. I was numb. I didn't. I never. So you asked me that I wasn't aware of anything. I wasn't really. I'd maybe wee pockets of clarity, but I wasn't aware of anything. I wasn't really. But then crack came into the scene, and that was a fucking different ball game, man. I was different. That was something else, man. Heroin broke me, but crack. If I don't, there's no even. Do you know something? I'm alright with. There's no any words I can describe it. Crack down.
Is that the stage that you were at that point?
Aye.
So what does that then take you through to?
So 30. I was on track for 2 years. So 32 to 34 till I went away. And that was I don't even know how I'm, see, to be honest with you, I don't even know how I'm still here. I believe I've been having for a reason. I don't, if you could call it God, you could call it spiritual, you could call it the secret to me, but that was crazy, man. That was the drugs, the amount of drugs taken, the violence, the random acts of violence, the robbing people that shouldn't be right, should be dead. Do you know what I mean? And you just didn't care. There was nothing you could hold you down and hit you with a hammer and do anything, and there was nothing.
Were you no feelings about yourself at that point? You just completely.
no, me hatred, just pure. I'd never had enough emotional intelligence to even hate myself on heroin because I was just numb. But crack was the devil, man. Crack was something else. That was pure. Even thinking about it. But so crack's a liar. Crack's a just when you're ready to get up the rock, you could have like a member that used to like so this is shocking, right? This is bad, man. This is so my mum passed away and I got some inheritance money. Some of the family didn't want to give me it, but being an addict, I manipulated to get it. It was something like £5 or something. I can't remember. £5. I put it in a cash checking place. I get or something £44,600, and spent it in 6 days. And it wasn't even enough. And it was so you could imagine the amount of drugs you take in that 6 days. Then when that money's away, and I was still on the path for about 18 months after that. So that 6 days, so there was a hole. There was always a hole in me. There's a hole to say. There's been studies to say addicts have got a hole in them. In fact, maybe all society's got a hole in them. We try to fill it with some shopping, porn, gambling, women, guys, whatever. And I couldn't feed this hole. I couldn't. And I'd stayed that. I didn't sleep for the 6 days. So I was wrecked, man. I was fucking wrecked, man. Just wrecked, man. Couldn't leave the house. Big long nails, long hair, no bathing for months. No eating. You couldn't even eat if you want it.
Was your family did your family see you at this point?
No, I was isolated through choice. So remember I'd said that all the years ago.
Yeah.
So families can only take so much.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? If you just keep. So they're probably aware. Everything's a small town. Do you know what I mean? So I'm thinking they don't see me, but it's a small town, so they've been fully aware of it. But in my head, they've been registered. It's not even something they've registered in me. I didn't ask them for anything, so I thought I didn't see them. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying as if I'm an addict with morals, but I didn't go and hassle them for money. My addiction was my own, so I would try and feed it with different means. But I could just thinking back like that 6. So that gives me the fear now. There's no, like, you know me, I've not really got much. I don't think in my past much because I'm not that person. I think to the future, and it's not because I don't recognise I've done bad things and I don't play the victim to me. I chose my path, but looking back, that was scary because I know the depths it take me, tying ropes around you and with a shower curtain, and the shower curtains planning it out the way I would form my body. My feet would hit the door, my back would be in the toilet pan, they couldn't get the door open, so you'd be away. Do you know what I mean? Or taking like a hot shot.
So hold that a minute. So at what point are you thinking this?
No, this was constant. This wasn't fine. This was constant.
This is at this stage where it's really, really bad with the crack and everything else. Now you're regularly thinking about what chaotic way you could end it on.
No, but I'm trying it as well, though. Just
trying to.
Trying to as well. That's what I mean. So like with the shower curtain, and then the full shower comes down. Do you know what I mean? Then the hot shot, and you wake up.
What? Because ultimately there'll be a thought process, even if it's no regulated in the right way. But what is the thought process? Why are you trying to do that?
Because it was too painful to keep going on, and I didn't know how to stop.
Right. So you're now at a point where you're at war within yourself.
Aye.
Yeah. You've never told me that part before. That's why I'm exploring.
I don't think, to be honest with you, I think there was a couple of people in my life then that knew.
Yeah.
But it's not really something that I've kind of shared. It's not really something that was.
So I take for that part of the story, and I know some people will also. Something else is trying to get out. It's trying to escape that body that is trapped in. that lifestyle. It probably, looking at you now, knowing who you are now, I see that as that's the Darren we know was trying to escape that, was trying to get out.
Never looked at it that way. It's probably it was buried deep. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I've never, and I'm not saying it for sure. I didn't even think I didn't even think it was something I would ever, because it's, I know mental health, you should be speaking about things like that, but it's just I don't know. It was just a constant battle, man. I was like to be. My mental health was never the best as it is, but I was numb. But crack was, I know I keep saying it, I'm trying to, unless you've been addicted to the pipe, it's very, very hard to explain. Even if you've been addicted to other drugs, crack's like you can never stop. So it's almost like a 2-minute buzz. Do you know, £20, 2-minute buzz. You're constantly, then you're full of the fear. Fear of council props, nothing compared to being on the rock for days.
Yeah.
Or even being on the rock for like 1-2 minutes and you've no money left. You're no sleeping, you're no eating, you're no washing. Your mental health's wrecked. There must be a chemical in it that wrecks your mind. Then you're getting different mixes, and if you've no outlet, if you don't know anything, so in my mind, then I probably knew people that could have helped me, but then again, I didn't, because recovery was fucking scary. I'm like, who can do that? That's crazy. I'm just an addict. That's who I'm. I'm going to die, but I didn't want to die. That pain was something else. No, physically, mentally, that pain was. I've never felt anything like it, and I pray to God I never feel anything like it again.
So, from this point, how do you take us to the? Let's take us from where you are at that point. You're desperately internally at war within yourself. You're trying to end it. You're trying to escape it. We're not really quite sure, but you're in a terrible, terrible place. How do we get from there to that moment where finally the direction changes?
So there was two defining moments. Yeah. I'll share about that, and this isn't any less of a magnitude one, because it was quite. So I can remember, so I was in a toxic relationship, but I'm not really. The two of us there was no blame to pay. So I remember my partner at the time went out to score crack, and I was like, now so you've got to remember my past. This is something I've never done before, right? So I talk about moments of clarity, and if you don't act on them before you know it, 10 years passes. So I had a wee brief moment of clarity then. And they were away out. We had money, and I phoned 999, and I says, listen, I'm suicidal. And so straight away, antennas go up, and I shot myself, and I hung up. So unbeknown to me, I didn't know the trace your call, and they're not going to give you any peace. So even though then I was an ed, right, and I was anti-screw crew and that, I never wanted to waste police resources. So I can remember this copper woman. So I'd answered the phone to her, and she was nice, human. So it was that connection. I'll talk about connection later on. There was a connection on the phone, and just nice. Like, probably made me see subconsciously, remember the way your wee grandma talked to you. Do you know what I mean? And she says, we're out looking for you. All these resources, where are you? Blah, blah, blah. And so I was just about to tell her, and I says, you'll not find me, I'm in Eggy Park. But I wasn't in Eggy Park, I was in Castle Park. But then I gave them my big brother's number. So I'd wanted that, I was kind of, do you know what, I was wanting it, but I wasn't, and I was shiting it, and yeah. Do you know what I mean? Then the clock was getting on, and also they could have been back with the drugs, but I didn't want it. I know this sounds weird, right? And something was telling me, see if I take any drugs that night, something was going to happen. So I'd never overdosed in my life. I'd I don't know how, but something, I just had a gut feeling that this wasn't going to end well that night. So long story short, I think my big brother got a hold of me. Ended up in Cross House, but they released me the next day because they're not really too equipped with the one the trauma informed. So I'm not really want to start getting into slating in it, but the one they equipped to deal with that. So I got released. And so that wee moment of clarity. So then I kind of went back to the caused me harm again, caused me grief, brother no sleeping, then the people, his relationships, wife, family, whatever. But you're not aware of that. He's your family, so you kind reach out, and you've never really done it before, so you think you're justifying doing that, but you're not, because it was your choices. But so I've kind of went back to do that. But so in that bio, I wrote about a moment of clarity and a moment of hurt. So that was the thing that kind of that propelled me to started me to where I'm at today. So me and one of my good pals, were trying. Do you know what I mean? We didn't really know about recovery, so we were on a prescription. This was before the MAT standards, and you had a choice about prescription you take. So we're on methadone, and we've been kind of doing all right. Do you know what I mean? Well, I was doing all right, and but we hadn't obviously been speaking about anything. And we were meant to go fishing, and I can't even fish right back in the May. We were meant to go fishing. Wait, this person was reliable, even for the way we were, with boyhood pals, with veins, through prison together, so you get like a kind of brotherhood, if you, for want of a better word. And he never turned up. I was meant to get his dad's, and he never turned up. And I had a feeling something was wrong, and I didn't act on that feeling. And it transpired a couple of days later. The person had to put his door in, he'd overdosed, and he'd been lying there. And see, to be honest, this will sound, you've got to remember, I don't know if you become desensitised to it. Hundreds of my pals have died by then. You could sit in this podcast for 2 hours reminiscing about people that have known died. Because you're a big part of me Stop the Death campaign to honour people, but so that was that. I can't remember my drug taking at this point. I can't really remember. I can't even really remember how much my mindset was for the end, but I can remember being at his funeral. And I've seen this 100 times before. And it was Charles that was taking the funeral. And Charles doesn't really talk about this. He's another person in recovery. And he said, I turned round, and it was just that. It caught me to the bone, man. It hurt me. This boy's daughter was crying. And I'm like, I fucking don't want this, man. I can't do this. It was as if that moment, see all that hurt and pain. Actually, in that wee lass's eyes, I seen what my lifestyle was causing people. And even though I wasn't attached to her in any way or form, and I seen the pain of what can happen by passing away, for fruit actually having lived. And it scared, and no, in fact, never scared me. It hurt me in a way that hadn't hurt me before. It was internal, it was just broken, man.
Why was this different for everyone else, but?
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Have you ever thought about that again as to what was so different?
I revisit it all the time. I revisit it like so what the family knows. Like I speak a lot of the family knows, and the odd time I do share about my life, I do always passing this. I don't know. Honestly, don't know. I think maybe because I wasn't as numb on the drugs. So like I said, we were trying. I wasn't taking copious amount of drugs. I wasn't sitting mad at my mind had started to think about different things. Do you know what I mean? Maybe still on a prescription because I didn't know anything then, but like it was like I could get a job, I could be a parent, So different things were coming into my mind. They maybe weren't getting acted on or even coming to fruition, but there were different things were entering me. Do you know what I mean? I was maybe starting to go to meetings, fellowship. There's a different factors, but it was just that moment. It was, I don't know, I don't know, man. It was like, it's the most rawest, painfulest things I've ever saw in my life, and I've seen it before, and I didn't know it. It was just, and it wasn't even that long to. It wasn't even like, so I'm talking about it as if it was an eternity. It was like a 2-second thing. It was just a wee lassie greeting for her parent. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't meant to be. It wasn't meant to be. It wasn't. Life was stacked. Life was. I think that's what new. Like, so you know, I'm into challenging. I like to challenge. So then I was like, fuck this, I'm not accepting this anymore. This is shite. Fuck this, I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't even, how do you even do that? How,
Well,
do you know how
well,
do you even?
You're about to tell us, because
So,
what comes next is the beginning of the you that existed. So he escapes from within, and he starts to be reborn, if you like. What comes next?
like I said, one of my pals was taking the funeral, and he'd said, so it affects him too. I'm sick of folk dying. If anybody wants away from here, come and see me after it. And this was during the funeral. This was, do you know what I mean? This was during the funeral. So speaking to him like blah blah blah. And you got to remember, these people hear this all the time. Do you know what I mean? This isn't new. He's like, right, come and you need to do X, Y, and Z. And the way I go to explain to me, see if you did put 25% effort into your recovery as you did your addiction, you're going to make it. You're going to smash your life with it. See if I could go to Glasgow to score a bag of heroin, then I could walk 2 minutes to go to a meeting. It's going to give me some form of connection. So I'll get to the connection part, but just to meet people and whatever. But I couldn't get it in the community, so I tried. But I had to. They don't like you to go to rehab. You need to do some stuff. Tried going to meetings, tried different things, but I was in my community where it's. Do you know what I mean? I knew everybody. I knew where to get drugs. I knew if I was having a shite day, I couldn't cope. I can remember before I went away. This is weird. I laugh at this, right? This is how fucked up I was. Mum could give me a new pair of trainers, right? I think I just picked up like a 7-day key ring. I was in fellowship at the time. I'd placed so much power in these trainers, man. Like, do you know what I mean? They were new and shiny, and they weren't even that good to look back at them now. I wouldn't even take the wheelie bin out them, right? But then at that moment of the time, right, I'd placed so much. And I'm going through Eggy Park, and I'm going dirty in a puddle, and I tried to phone my sponsor, and I broke down. I was wrecked. I used drugs on that. I used drugs on a pair of trainers. Do you know what I mean? It was crazy. So I couldn't get, if a pair of trainers could wreck me mentally, do you know what I mean? I was obviously, because I was no drugs in me, I was emotional too. But so a couple of weeks later, for that funeral, it was 2 weeks. I was in Team Challenge rehab, a Christian rehab, because for boys like me, I couldn't. You couldn't send me to like a soft rehab. I would have exploited it.
Yeah.
Out in the middle of nowhere, no telly, so you're meant to be there for 10.5 months. No telly, no phones, no outside contact for after 2 months. And it's only a select family. So I went there. Never slept for I did sleep, but I left for it after 4 months because I felt I was going soft. I only wanted to have drugs at that time. Didn't know about life. I thought drugs were a problem, so I come back to Irvine after 4 months.
Clean.
And half everything, aye. But I come back to Irvine and for a week I was staying with my brother. This was my second moment. I was staying with my brother, and I can remember him saying to me, I know you're going to fuck this, but I'm with you. You've not been away long enough. So you've got to remember, if you're over 20 year in active addiction, right, 4 months isn't going to, 4 months is, 4 months not going to change you, right? But the 4 months to me was fucking great and all that. No, I'm going to do this, blah, blah, blah. And, but he knew I was going to fuck it, but I didn't, But so I was staying with him. Again, family putting yourself out. Do you know I walked about for a week with money in my pocket, right? Waiting till I bumped into somebody that was rattling. Then to give them money, and so I could take drugs. And that's a thing like that. That's not even just me. I don't know. There's something behind that. It's so we're not taking the blame for relapsing. We'll try to help some do it. So within a week, he'd say to me, "You're using." No, I'm not. I'm not using. I'm not using. Eyes pinned, fucking sweating, fucking sleeping and all that. Probably saying that hay fever in the middle of winter, it was snowing or something. Do you know what I mean? Pure crazy. So anyway, I get put out. This was just in a period of 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I put out. I was in a scatter flat in Springside, and no electricity, no food, nobody this time. Like, so I probably look back, I always must have done emotional crutch. I had nobody this time. And I can remember walking about saying, so my manager has said to me, Dan, just to let you know, there's a bed always here for you. You can come back. I'm like, nah, you're all right, mate. See you after. Remember walking about broken. So, see that week of using, I was the worst. I was worse than all the years on heroin and crack. Mentally and physically and emotionally, I was worse. I don't know. Again, there is a science behind it, because you've learned to cope with drugs, and then you go back, your body can't take it anymore and rejects it. And so does your mind. But again, I thought that was lies, because how can a week taking drugs be any worse than 18 years? To me, it didn't make sense, but I found out it does make sense. I can remember the electricity, and I don't know how I was naked. I don't even know how, because I was freezing. It was November. Was it November? Was it November? I think it was November 2018 and 2017. I know it was November because I went back November. Lying naked, and I was greeting, crying out to whoever would listen to me, God, MD, listen, I was just crying, greeting, broken. Then, so a couple of days later, I'm having a charge, I'm taking drugs, try to find a vein up a close. So I had to try to find a vein up a close. Two of my pals thought they were drug workers. I wasn't in their service, so this is how I'm a big believer of that for a reason. And I said, no, what you doing? I'm like, nothing. I'm like, right, Monk, where are you? We'll come and get you, we'll go for a coffee. I'm like, no, I'm all right. So like, no, listen, so I'll be 10 minutes. So these folk don't wait, they've not got time to wait, they've got jobs, you know what I mean? They're out trying to help people and support people. So I was an hour. But I hadn't told them this, so when I was an hour, and they'd seen how fucked I was, because they're in fellowship, so they were trying to support me back to meetings. And then like, and it's not that to my rehab wants me to go back. I'm no fucking going back, all that stuff. Like, what do you mean you're not going back? I says, they've offered me to come down and pick me up today, but I'm not doing it. I'm going to get clean in the community again. And you're crazy, you're never going to happen. And so my rehab don't pick end up. They're strict, they're money strict as rehab. So I don't know how they come down and they pick me up. Long story short, they picked me up in my house. The guy who picked me up was an ex-addict as well. And I'd tons of pre-gabbers and Valium in my house and biffs. I can remember thinking, I'm going to take them in with me. But something told me no to, because you're getting into a house. Do you know what I didn't? But I couldn't bin them either. I didn't have the heart to bin them. And so I asked that guy to bin them, and I could see I put him into a bad position because he was struggling to do it. I'd asked an addict, showed him hundreds of drugs, when he was working in a Christian rehab. I put him in a bad position, but he did it. And I went back, and I don't, to be honest with you, I don't know what kept me in that house. I never slept for 6 weeks. I don't know how. I never. And I went back. I can remember looking in the mirror. One of my pals, some staff members, I'm good pals with them now, and I must have been pals with them before then. In fact, one of them was at my wedding, and he never talked to me for a month. I used to think, you're a fucking dick, by the way. You're fucking like swearing like, oh, I used to give me stinking. Well, you couldn't give me stinking, you could get kicked out, but I would do things to him. But I didn't realise, because I didn't really know about relationships. How can you know about relationships? Everything's been a chemical romance all your life. You don't know what real bonds are. So he'd been close to me, and when I came back, he didn't recognise me. My eyes were dead. I'd no smile. So you've got to remember, if you know me, I'm a growler. So my eyes always, I've only got one, and my voice is monotonous. My face is set one way. So this must have been bad. And the people that are close to me couldn't, it hurted them to see. It hurt them to see the state I was in. And I can remember that. So I've only got a few things that make me not go back the way when I get to dark days. No, I would never ever relapse, right? I would never ever. But when I get to dark days, there's only a couple of focal points that I visualise, and one of them was looking in that mirror, and the person looking back was, you ever seen a forced smile? When somebody's in so much pain, it's the most painful thing in the world. And see when it's your own, and you know it's your own, and you recognise it for what it is, it was probably just like seeing that wee lassie crying. And that was so then through the rehab, it was a tough rehab, but I'd learned for that relapse. You see, this time I'm changing everything. It's not about the drugs. Drugs were only, see when you crossed that road that day, drugs were the only things you saw.
Yep.
So drugs was the only things people only saw my addiction. So the drugs haven't the issue with me. Yep. The issue was me. The issue was my choices, my social connections, my
your environment.
My thought processes, what I believed in, what I didn't believe in, friendships, good friendships, but different at different stages. So I had to reevaluate everything in my life, everything. And it was
at this point you've got nobody. So you're starting with a complete blank slate. You've done all your bridges, you've let everybody down. You've almost destroyed your body, your mental health, everything is like completely broken. And then you're saying, right, no, I've got to do this.
Yeah. And you've got to remember, how many times have you said that? Yeah. So nobody does believe you, so you're like, oh, it's like, oh, that's me. Do you know what I mean? Like, no bother, Darren. Cool, bro. You're all right, mate. Do you know what I mean? So nobody talked to me for like nobody close family. So I'm not getting into like details of who and that because but close family, and I taught them. Do you know what I mean? I'd really see. Probably, be honest with you, probably caused them a lot of trauma, and maybe that affected them still in certain ways. Not like as in like physical, but mentally and emotionally. For the things, for the worry and the stress, and the powerlessness. So that's a big thing. You know you're powerless. And you try everything. And do you know what I realised today that first time? Sorry, I'll kind of keep flirting back. Do you know what's the most painful thing to see? Seeing you gave somebody hope, and you take it away, you snatch it. See it looking in their eyes. That's a. You could batter somebody all day, and have no effect on them if you give somebody hope and take it away. Yeah. So with me getting better, even with my papa's passed now, but my papa always had a good relationship with my papa, but like he was never hitting it, and rightly so. It wasn't as if he was proud of me. Like I'd never done it. Do you know what I mean? But he'd been proud of me when I went away. But when I fucked it, relapsed, I snatched his hope away, and I snatched other people's hope away, and it was. See, looking back at that, that was probably. So if you ask me, I've not got many regrets, and I know it sounds cruel. I've not got many regrets about my addiction. The reason being, I don't stay there anymore. I'm not that person. I don't live in the past because of a day, and the chances that I'm going to go back to it and revisit it. But giving somebody hope and snatching it away is a terrible. It's not a terrible crime because people do it. It's a terrible price to pay. It's a bad price. So I done the. We'll talk about the rehab. Rehab was brutal, man. The rehab was that was. I did a 3-year sentence and a teen challenge program again. No telly, like I say, no. The only time you go to a church on a Sunday. I say it was brutal. It wasn't. It gave me my life. Do you know what I mean? I need to. It's called Teen Challenge for a reason, and I think so. You know me. I don't like people that know me know I don't like getting challenged. It's no something I'm comfortable with, and they challenge the life out you. Mm-hmm. But so fast forward 10.5 months, and I got a job there, and I made a decision I was going to be a peer. So I don't even like this word now, peer, because it's negative and connotation. But I was going to say I was going to be a peer worker. And anybody that knows me the way I come across, like I say, I'm an editor. I wear trackies, Under Armour t-shirts, 270s, because I'm comfortable who I'm. I don't need society to tell me who I need to be anymore. So, and you'll never be that. You're never going to be a positive role model. You do know stuff, but you'll know you're not positive. Basically, you're still got to go back to doing drugs. No bother. I don't need to listen to you. So that was the mindset of me. I'd stop nobody power on me. And society tells you you're arrogant for that, or you've got an ego. But society also tells me I'm going to be an addict all my days. And you're trying to tell people, listen, I'm not arrogant. I've got a granddaughter I love to bits. I'm married. I'm community minded. And above all that, I've got a responsibility to myself. I'm an active citizen. So if you see that as arrogant or an ego, then that's all right. But you've not got sway over me. But I'm not going to go back. I'm not going back to drugs. Then you would know do you know what I mean? So society tells you these things. Or if you love yourself, see when people say, you love yourself, no, I know.
I know.
How would I know?
No.
How could, do you know what I mean? And obviously I'm not saying you could achieve, and it's no love like, but I try to explain to them, like, I do love myself, but no, because I love my wife, and I love my family, and I love my circle of friends that I've got. Do you know what I mean? I've got a small circle of friends, but I love them, and I love different things. But if I don't love myself, then I can't. That's all shite. Do you know what I mean? There's going to be hundreds of problems. So I learned to love myself in Teen Challenge, and I'll always be behind me, grateful for that. So then I just a process. So believe it or not, like this is I don't even know if I've maybe I shared this with you. I don't know if I've shared this with you. Some people know it. So because it was a Christian rehab, everybody's got plans for you. Everybody's got plans for you, right? So this time I was actually, I say it as in like, no, I was taking churches at this time. And I was quite good at it. Dissecting the Bible into why the boys would know. Met to go to Bible college. And it was weird, see. So I'd heard this sermon, right? And there was a guy got in and he said, so God's got so your manager's got a plan for you. Society's got a plan for you. God's got a plan for you. You've got a plan. Who are you going to listen to? And I was halfway through a service. I was working on it. And I heard this voice. So I said, I'm not trying to blaspheme or nothing, but I heard that. What the fuck are you doing? What the fuck are you doing? And I went in and had my notice in. And I come back to Irvine. I think that was 2019. So it was, but I come back to nothing. I left there. it's weird. It's kind of weird, right? So I had this. I'm big in visualizations. See, if you asked me then what I was going to achieve, see what I've got now in my life. That's so. I told people then what I was going to do, but I didn't. If they asked me how I'm going to do it, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I left school at 15, but I'm going to do all this, and so I left Teen Challenge homeless. I had to go into a Dawson hostel with one bag of clays and £75 in December the 12th, 2009, before Christmas.
But by this time, you're a different animal altogether.
I was focused.
It's not like you've come home the last time. You've now come home.
Aye, no.
And you mean business now.
Aye. That was like there was nothing. See if and this will sound selfish or anything. See if you. This is probably. I'll try to put this, but see if you want to go in this my direction.
You're in my way.
And I couldn't. You were. I'd no time. So you know me. I'm not big in small talk. Do you know what I mean? To enjoy that. It was cool because I'm focused. I'm trying to, because I know my mind. In my mind, I love chaos. I love carry on. I love banter. I love all this, but I loved all that, and it took me to places.
Do you feel like, as I'm listening to you saying that, and again, do you feel like the clock was ticking now? Was it almost like, I've wasted so much time? Yeah, I need to get going. I've not got time for I've wasted too much already.
Emma thinks I'm weird and all right. So some folk, Emma's my wife, so I from some think I'm weird when I say this. So I'm quite morbid, right? So I always think of my funeral, and not in a bad sense. Like, which song we would have. So we've had a song in my area, "Wish You Were Here," and different things. But so I never wanted that. I don't want to die an addict. I don't want to die a person like the Pogue song. I could have been somebody. I would either Darren did. I've been to hundreds of funerals, and it breaks my heart, man. It's just people no living. Do you ever seen that quote? Everybody dies,
yeah,
but not everybody lives. I never lived. I had good moments. I don't know. I never lived, so I never wanted to. And I was, so like you said, I was focused. I'd no time for. I love carrying on. You know me. I love it. I love slagging. I love all that. But then I need to like, no, Dan, come on, mate. Dude, boom. This is it. This is, if you're telling me you want to achieve X, Y, and Z, but how are you going to achieve? How about you going to do with that? Do you know what I mean? You've not got any qualifications. You've no life skills. Can't use a computer, all that stuff. So then you just plan into it.
So you then become a man with a plan.
Aye, basically.
And it was your plan to. So you're teasing us with the word connection a few times already during this, because I know you. And this is something that you and I passionately talk to each other about power of connection. But was it on your radar to fix things with people and the people, the things, the people that you'd had in your life and all that, or was it purely just to focus on you and build yourself and achieve the things that you're starting to have on your radar?
It was so I think I'll answer that bit in the roundabout way. I think for folks any egotistical, what I've achieved now was always meant to be. So I'm impatient. I want everything. I mean, you've noticed that, like, boom, boom, and I'm quite perfectionist. I always think my mind will tell me something's going to go wrong if you need to. It's a lot of shite, right? Because my mind's a liar. Do you know what I mean? I know my mind tells me a lot of lies, but so what I've achieved now probably did go, but it was all that. But I wasn't aware of it, because if I was aware of it, it would have been too much for me for that stage of my life. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So what I know now, because I was lying in it's kind of weird, like, so my wife now, so we just started seeing each other, and I was in that, I got a scatter flat, like a temp furnish in a Dawson hostel, and it was bad, man. It was, it took me to dark places. Nobody knew this, can I tell anybody? Blood in the walls, there was rubbish in it, the council should have taken out, it was terrible, I didn't let anybody in. In fact, I was cleaning the front drugs on top of the cupboard. Do you know what I mean? It was like, it was bad. And I can remember I was saying, right, so our family hadn't introduced me to MD then. So everything was kind of wee love birds. It was wee secret rendezvous and all that. And she thought she'd come back to mine, it'd be a wee hungry place. She was a Dawson for something. I'm like, no, you're not coming in. I'm not letting you in. Because it was that bad. And I can remember that was so, I doubted everything. I doubted, am I even sane? But I'm saying I want to achieve this. And this is the way I'm living. Is drugs causing me something that's my sanity? Am I actually right in the head? And I know you're not meant to say that, but that was my language at the time. And because it's real talk, do you know what I mean? You need to be real with yourself. You're not going to be real with yourself. And I questioned a lot of things for the 3 weeks I was there. I questioned everything. And then, but looking back, was it through that questioning that came up with solutions and avenues, obviously in your mind, because you've not really got any resources, but your mind's a powerful resource. And I think that's when I worked through a lot of stuff in my mind, that wee scatter flat out the back of you hungry nothing, man.
Mm-hmm. So, onwards and upwards then, after that?
Aye, it was onwards and upwards, aye. Just gradual. So, what happened, so I got into college for there. I got into Spare College. It was an access course for the peer programme. Like a kind of recovery skills if you want to work in recovery. So I was always focused on being in recovery. So you asked me, did I want to save people? See then, I had a Superman complex then. I had a Superman complex. But later I'll explain why that went rightly so. So I wanted to work in recovery. I wanted to me it was making amends as well. It caused a lot of damage in my community, so I never touched a lot of things. I'd maybe say about different things, but I caused a lot of damage, a lot of hurt. And I wanted to try and change it. And I wanted to be a positive influence because I had influences when I was growing up, but I chose to look up to a negative peer. So I also knew you could be a positive peer. And I wanted to try and make a difference and want a lot better word to lead them into darkness kind of thing. To be a light, to be something you could focus on, as other folk were with me.
Yeah.
But so I joined their college. To remember, I didn't have a phone. I didn't have a mobile phone until I was like 35 or something. Do you know what I mean? So there's no danger I didn't even know what email address. In fact, I can remember it's like my papa's, and he must have at age done his Wi-Fi, and I'm like, I didn't even know what Wi-Fi was. Didn't even know how to sign into Netflix. People talk about smart things, and I'm like, what the fuck's this, man? Just 20 years didn't live, do you know what I mean? There's probably still had 3 channels on my telly for 20 years, man. So it was just basic things, email addresses, computer skill sets, and it touched on about wee bits of recovery. And then COVID hit, so it stopped. But I knew myself, I knew I had to do something. So I volunteered as an essential worker in one of the community centres. And that kind of softened me a bit. Gave me telephone skill sets. And this sounds minor all this stuff, right? But it was major stuff to me. And it gave me stuff for later on, like talking to folk on the phone and being empathetic and active listening. And I didn't know all that at the time, but it was like an apprenticeship type of thing. So COVID was good for me. And I know that sounds cruel because COVID caused a lot of harm But for me, I didn't let COVID define who I was going to be or wreck me, because things had wrecked me in the past, and so I was going to, there was nothing was going to have power over me unless I let it be, and I was going to try to look for the positive and everything, try to learn. So I learned stuff through COVID. Caused a lot of harm recovery-wise. A lot of people relapsed in it. Some people lost their life because they didn't have the resources and the support available that would have been, but that was across the board as well. That was your wee granny going to bingo. Do you know what I mean? That was a resource for her. So communities as well.
And COVID was a time I would say I was more aware of what you were doing. I would say that maybe not so much that you would be aware of it, but you were becoming sort of known as someone, and certainly in the Vineborough area in particular, you were doing things that maybe others should be doing. I think that would be fair. You were doing stuff, you were putting yourself out there, you were trying to help people. And although we would become better connected through the Fit Your Dad's community and stuff like that, and latterly, I think COVID did have a habit of, you either shone brightly or you sort of disappeared into the shadows, and you sort of, I think, unintentionally, were able to shine through your community. That was the start of it. I think that's in terms of my perception. You were able to start doing things that maybe was quite bold and no shy away from what was, like you say, a crippling pandemic.
The way I seen it as in so for me, I know there was laws in it, but people's mental health came first then. People were off a fear to. So I'll flat here, right? This is a kind of way so I kind of learned early on. So just like when you say the Fit Your Dads, so even that, and I kind of shows you the power of recovery, right? Because a lot of that couldn't have happened. See, if you ask somebody that, right, with my background, so if we're looking like just on the outside, different life, do you know what I'm different? Remember, I've said that all the nutcases out running and fucking nutcases, do you know what I mean? Then they'd be looking at me, fucking nutcase, 20-year on the, do you know what I mean, the heroin or whatever. But there was a miracle there, we looked beyond it, and there was a connection. Do you know what I mean? So that connection that I seen it in COVID, I seen people need to see something, I'm not saying it as if a martyr or superhero, but people need to stand up for their community, for their rights, and say, no, enough is enough, that this isn't acceptable. This is what we're doing, and we're doing it together. We can either stand ways or don't stand ways. It's all one. It makes no difference, because we're not doing anything wrong. We're offering hope. Do you know what I mean? It's no. I try to think of the word. I don't know. I just do things. People ask me all the time, see my work. People say, how are we going to do that? They want business plans and strategise, do you know what I mean? And meetings. I'm like, no, I don't know. But come to me a week later and I've done it.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. It's just, I call it, it's like a community asset approach to recovery, or even a community asset approach to all communities. I'm trying to change the narrative things. I'm saying I can't do it. So that's, see, the Superman thing. That burnt me out. I nearly burnt me out. I spoke to you about this. That Superman complex burnt me out, man. It was dark. I was exhausted. It affected my relationship.
So tell people that what that looked like for Dan.
The superhero complex.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying it wasn't superheroes and an ego. It was my big passion is stop the death campaigns.
Yeah.
I don't want to stand in front of our family and see them grieving for their children. Do you know what I mean? There's children grieving for their parents, their brothers and sisters, and just don't like it. I know dying's natural, but see if you die without having lived, it's so sad to see the pain it causes and the pain it leaves behind. It's a sad thing, man. It's so painful to watch. It chokes me up thinking about it. It's just so cruel, man. It's stoppable. Do you know what I mean? It is preventable. But I didn't. So I jumped into heat first, man. I think I can, superhero cape on folks here. I can do it. And see if the foot sounding egotistical again, I was doing it. I was doing things folks that you couldn't do. But at the same time I was doing it, I was doing myself damage for doing it. I was doing other people's jobs, and not necessarily like I could have referred people to things. I wasn't spending much time on my family.
Trying to do everything yourself.
Aye, because and see, do you know how it was? I trust issues.
Yeah.
I didn't trust you could do it. I didn't trust it was important enough for you to do it.
Yeah.
It's not important for Kev to do anything. It's not important for him to do. How is it? He's got X, Y, and Z. I can do it. Or sometimes I was aware it was going to come at a price to you. I just say a difficult decision was going to be made, and I didn't want to put other people in that position. So I made the decision myself.
Isn't that a funny mindset thing in its own, Dan? You know, that lack of trust towards other people. I remember when you first were around me and the fads and all that, and you didn't trust it. I wouldn't say you never trusted me. I think you and I have had a really unique relationship right from the off. But I know you never trusted some of the fan boys, you know, and these boys are reaching out to you and they're like wishing you well and, you know, want to high five you. And they're just lads that are going through their own life shit, but they've got such a positive outlook and all that, and you're like that to me. What are they all about? What's that? And, you know, pure lack of trust. What do you think? See, when I think about that, it's quite a complex one. You know, I'm a student of the mind, if you like. I love to understand this. How does someone no trust everyone around them when they're the one who's let everybody down in the past?
Because that's the thing, no, isn't it? So if you've done that, then you've isolated yourself that long. Then because of the victim mindset.
Yeah.
You know, so my perception is, so I say, if you're still going to blame people, you're not going to have sustainable recovery, and it's a hard truth for people to swallow, and people call me brutal for it. But for me, if you're still blaming people, but if I've been blaming people all my life, and then when I do reach out and they're not there, so I think it causes trust issues. I'm not saying it's right, do you know what I mean? And it's also the world I was for. Somebody does something for you, there's something in it. Do you know what I mean? If you're in jail and somebody gives you like a Mars bar, they're wanting free back. If somebody gives you tick, like they're wanting the money back. They're not nobody's nice. Nice folk are weird, do you know what I mean?
So that's probably the biggest lesson then, isn't it? In this life is to understand that actually people are searching to have positive intentions. People are actually trying to be, you know, there's one of the best, one of the most personally rewarding things you can do is to give back or pay it forward, as they call it. And people don't actually realise it, and not many people practice it. But because people are so no used to practicing being, there's a big classic catchphrase, you know, be kind. If you can't say anything, don't say anything at all. In actual fact, just doing something because it's the right thing to do, rather than, you know, if somebody's got a video camera on you and it's like chasing likes or whatever, just actually being kind and being genuine and genuinely wanting to see someone do well in life. It really makes people uncomfortable. But I think we're getting there. I think we are getting there. I think people are starting to, even one of the hardest nuts to crack like yourself, I think you're starting to go, you know what? There's a lot of good folk out there. They just
No, it
genuinely
is.
care.
I think that's where the connection comes in. Do you know what I mean? It was so I do believe so. I talk to the First Minister the way I would talk to you.
Yep.
Because, and that's it. And if I connect to you, then it's good. And if I don't connect to you, then I still wish you well. Do you know what I mean? But for me, so I've got a selfish reason to connect as well, because it sustains my recovery. Do you know what I mean? So I'm a harm reductionist now, so I don't follow one specific form of recovery. I follow community. Community's my, but as I say, community, that's also connection. That's everything's a connection. Like there's a study of Johanna Hari. There's different theories about addiction, and some people say it's a disease and etc. But my theory is, I believe in all the theories, to be fair, I do believe, but the one my go-to is the opposite addiction isn't sobriety. The opposite addiction is connection. There was studies showing like once you connect with somebody, so you're saying I had trust issues, like so some of the fads I'm not starting naming because there's no my thing to start naming, right? But some of them genuine guys smiling away, right, taking you to places. Want to go to a concert this weekend? And what? Are you all right, mate? They'll be mailing you. What's this cunt all about? Do you know what I mean? And it was just and then you're not realising maybe you're helping them as well. So the connection, it's a two-way street, but you don't. But like I had no life skills then, so it was through connecting that I learned life skills.
Yeah.
And I achieved a lot. I achieved more by working with folk than I could have ever done myself. And to be honest with you, I would have probably I'd never ever go back to drugs, right? But I know my mind. I know if I don't keep in tap in my mind with my different coping mechanisms and different mantras and people I talk to, like yourself, then I'm going to go to some dark places.
Mm-hmm.
And if I go to dark places, my experience tells me sometimes you don't come back for that.
And that tells me that you've got a much better understanding and appreciation now of your mental health. You know, when that's real talk about mental well-being. You know, that you've now got a much better appreciation of, you know, your environment, what you consume, you know, through your phone, through the people that are about you, through the conversations, all that. It needs to be the right stuff. It's like, you know, putting the right stuff in your car to drive it. If you put the wrong stuff in, it's not going to work. And I listen to that as you explain that, and that's what I'm hearing. You're now much more in tune that what you're putting in needs to be right to keep you in a good place. Not because you'll end up in drugs, but because you'll not be as good as you need to be. Then it affects those, like, see, so in recovery, you've got to be selfish, and folks struggle with that because they think, no, I'm selfish in addiction. No, but you're being selfish in recovery because you can't be a good husband, can't be a good grandparent, can't be a good parent, friend, at work, mentor or whatever, if I'm not right with myself, because it spills over. You are what you eat. If you don't eat the right things, you go overweight. Do you know what I mean? People don't like hearing things like that, but it's a reality. It's cold facts. Do you know what I mean? You need to keep it real. Like, there's no point sugarcoat. I think society, I talk about this, right? So a lot of people, they probably agree, but they don't want to. I think we're going too liberal now. It's causing a lot of problems. It's a lot of, I see it in the communities and the deaths. I think we need to start tackling the issues, real stuff. Do you know what I mean? Let's talk about the real issues at hand. No, we're not trying to upset MD. We're no. Listen, how can I not respect MD? I'd stuck a needle on me for 20 years. So just because I say something doesn't mean I don't respect you as a person. Maybe not understand certain things, but we could go together to understand it. But let's call a spade as well. And some things like in a recovery setting, in a mental health setting. So it's like being on the gear. So I could say, right, I could sit here and play and I talk about trying to calm myself, right. I could have said that, but I'm not talking about the drugs that caused it. Do you know what I mean? We need to keep things real, because if you don't keep it real,
And the reality is, you can't treat it. You can't help get to a solution because you've not got all the information at hand. And we're talking about people's lives. We're talking about even the quality of life of people with mental health. So even take away my people say it's like a dual diagnosis, isn't it? What came first, the chicken or the egg? So I don't know if I had mental health first, or I don't know if the addiction caused the mental health.
Well, the mental health. I flip it to mental well-being. It's like your physical health when it's up and down. If you run down because you're doing too much now, you start to feel fatigued. You're more open to colds and stuff like that. It's all there. If you introduce and I love that you're going there a wee bit of real talk, because I've been getting a wee bit more on that triggering button recently myself. If you're making choices to go and sit around absolute rockets, in your downtime, then chances are your mental health's going to be affected. If you're making choices just to hit the drink, let's say as opposed to drugs, because we've been talking a lot about drugs, but if you're just on alcohol, which is a massive depressant, if you're choosing to do that, then your mental health's going to take a hit. If you gamble all your money away and you've got bills to pay, chances are your mental health's going to take a hit. It's we everybody wants to post on a Monday about how down you feel,
or I'm off it.
But it's the thing that kills me really is seeing these sad, deep, meaningful meme things posts that on a Monday, Tuesday, when it, and about how nobody's reaching out to me and how I'm this and I'm that, but there's been loads of people trying to get you all weekend, and you've shut yourself away because you've had, you're making these choices that for a fact is going to affect you in a really negative way. But we don't want to talk about that. You and I talk about the famous Tyson Fury. This will go down like this point of the podcast will go down like a lump of lead. Tyson, you and I are fans of Tyson Fury, but we're also well aware that he's very selective in what he talks about when he's winning over fans with his mental health chat. Because what he isn't, he talks about drink a lot. The way he doesn't talk about is all the chat that he was rattling, all week. That's why he became suicidal. That's why he couldn't train for his title fights, because of the amount of drugs he was taking, because of the amount of tick that he was running up. But he detracts that through the story most of the time. Now and again it'll make
unless it suits,
because that doesn't win over your 40-year-old Gene. That's I love that Tyson Fury. I love his story about mental health. Would you have loved it if he told you about all the other parts? So there is an agenda there, that we're selective in what we want to use, and it's not just celebrities. As I say, it's the boy and the girl next door.
No, it's real community stuff.
Real community stuff. And if you've been listening to this podcast and listening to Dan's story, do not think, if this is you, do not think that you'll not reach the point that Dan reached. Don't think that you're that good at the game and you're that far ahead of getting caught, that this can be you to some level or, whatever, because everybody doesn't start out to lose everything, but
they're just one choice away, isn't it? Everybody's just one choice away.
You're one choice away for losing your partner. You're one choice away for losing your job. You're one choice away for losing your driving licence. And you're one choice away for your kids wanting nothing to do with you. But nine times out of 10 of those folk will blame that on all the other things, and they'll know, they'll be out there and they'll be telling the world in social media, that, and things like that, and the people that they care about, no, and you need if more people face up to the reality here, then maybe there's more people can actually start to live the best life that they can.
Do you think that's a society thing then, because nobody is actually stepping at the forefront to talk about it?
Well, you've got loudmouths like us that are trying, and we're trying, but there's still a lot of shame attached. Shame is the If you think about like the most powerful thing is value you can hold is gratitude, right? Being grateful for what you're here for and grateful for what you're alive for, and what you've still got to give to the world. But probably the most damaging one is shame. Shame for what you've no told people. Shame for what people don't know about you. Shame for the things that you're running away for. So I think there's a massive element of shame, and you'll see it with a lot of people you come into contact with as well. And I think that's one that society's still struggling with. The shame that so many people are carrying about their day to day.
But that's like, so that's like, I'm not using the big fancy universe, but so that's like the society norms I was talking about. So that is just a lie. It's socially constructed to be that way. But the reality is a lot of people face it. So the more people that spoke about it, the shame lessons. No, if I was a believer in shame, the stuff I've done into my body, like I wouldn't be swagging about the beach with my top off if I lived in shame, and that's because I had a needle sticking out it for 20 odd years, and you can still see. It doesn't matter how many tattoos I get, you'll still see scars. But the more people so I'm a big people. Recovery should be visible. I believe I'm a part of the recovery visible because you see it and like, no, do you know something? He's got the same scars as me, and he's walking about. And it's not that you're not giving a fuck. You're just saying this is who I'm. Do you know what I mean? And no, this is who we are collectively together. Do you know what I mean? And I was struggling, I would get down, but you know what? We talk about it. We talk about it as pals or as strangers because many of us want to go back to that fucking sitting looking out blinds, being on the gear all weekend, or me and the crack pipe or whatever, and then all week being full of fear. Or reality is, right, fucking the amount of folk that lost their life through that, and you just think, see that connection, see that do you know something? I'm fucked.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm done. But see your 50 grand a year job, and your Audi, and your partner, and your fully stocked fridge, they're stopping you from having a better quality of life.
Yeah.
Or sad reality is losing your life.
Yeah.
And there's no greater gift than saving a life. And I'm not mean saving a life by jumping in the river, right? Because this is unmeasurable. So I think the amount of people that help me, hundreds are too many to name, and I wouldn't too many of them, and I'm thankful for every one of them. And but they saved my life. But you can't measure that.
Yeah.
Because you can't measure because I'm still alive. But if they never spoke about all that stuff, would I still be here then? And that's how we need to start talking about these things. Just in conversation and just like, no, listen, it doesn't matter what you do. It's a matter what matters is the effects it's had on you, mentally, physically, emotionally, socially, and how we're going to get. And there's a parable, right, about addiction, right? A guy in the hole. Guys in the hole, can't get out, right? An addict, right? But you can use this in any point of any walk of life. And the priest walks by. He's like, Padre, I'm stuck, help me get out. He's like, I can't help you get out. I'll pray with you, but right, guy's still stuck in the hole, right? Psychiatrist walks by. He's like, I'm stuck in the hole, 16 like that. How do you think you get in the hole? And how does the hole make you feel? And all that stuff, right? All that Freud stuff. The psychiatrist goes away, guy's still stuck in his hole, right? What else? Doctor walks by. That doctor want to help them, stuck in the hole. He's like, wait there, I'll give you this. He's on medication. Guy sleeps for a couple of days, still wakes up, still in the hole. And her guy walks by. He's like, I'm stuck in the hole. Guy jumps in with him. He's like, what you doing? The toes are stuck in. He's like, don't worry, mate. I've been here before. I know a way out. And that's the thing. That's the lived experience of mental health, addictions, whatever. That person knows a way out. And we all look for, and I'm no dissing doctors or hang me right, but sometimes we're looking for quick fixes. Where the reality is, it's just, you know what? We're in the hole together. And it may be luck that there's no way out. The balls are maybe piling up. Mountains of debt. Relationships broke down. You're not getting back with the missus, mate. That's no happening. But doesn't mean you can't have a relationship with her in the veins, or the missus with the vice versa. But it just means that season's over. But let's not focus on that now. Let's focus on getting you out the hole and getting you something.
See that what you've just said. That's brilliant. It's a brilliant analogy, and it's absolutely true. If you want to come away from the story of addiction, it's true. We try and sort a lot of this stuff internally, and that, you know, Darren knows how massive I am into internal dialogue and the damage that it does. But we try and sort our issues out internally, and we never ever use the right sort of internal voice in ourselves. We never do. We go for chaos always, you know, and self-sabotage, you know, this kind of thing. But in actual fact, that story really sums up the power of connection and the power of reaching out and modelling on other people, you know, and why you don't need to sort things out yourself. You know, there's always somebody out there that's walked in your shoes, that's walked in your path. Sorry, you know, be it if you're going through relationship difficulties, you bet your bottom dollar there's somebody that's been through the same thing. If you've got money troubles, you bet your bottom dollar somebody's had the same troubles, and so on and so on and so on. There's people out there, and you know, when you talk about that mindset, mental health sort of element of it, that why there is no prize given at the end of this to say, you know, managed to get through that all by themselves without any help from anybody. That's that prize giving's not happening. It's not happening. Why suffer in silence and as a solo conquest? Why no think about who's out there? Think about what types of groups are out there, the types of things Darren's started and continues to be involved in. You know, community groups, helplines, all these different things are out there, because it'll blow your mind how quickly you could be connected to somebody who could help. And if they help, then isn't that really what you're looking for? To deal with your problem quickly?
Or they know somebody you could signpost them to, do you know what I mean?
Aye. We're getting lost in the belly of this, and this is, do you know what? And I'm glad. I wondered what point in the podcast this would happen, where we just get wolfed down the rabbit hole. I want to just sort of bring things back around, where you're now, because it would be a disservice for people who don't understand. Darren and I had a cool conversation, and I get to share it with, you know, because he'll maybe remember to bring it up, where we talked about, we did a really good conversation about what your why is and your purpose is. It was going back a wee bit of time, and I think it was one of the moments where I gave Darren a wee bit of food for thought, and he left kind of scratching that head of his. Where we talked about my perspective on things, about your why is really the journey. The why isn't the destination, so your why never really is fully met. It's continuously evolving. And Darren, you know, and I had a really brilliant conversation about that, and you know, because he is in a really it's an inspiring journey. I want folk to really get a wee flavour of where we are now. I want them to get a wee flavour on the fact that you're doing your qualification, and for people to just hear a wee bit about that. And most importantly, for folk who can't quite see his t-shirt, he's repping something that's really important to him. So fast forward a little bit, and let's talk about where you are now and what you're working towards.
So my why was my why was to start a charity, basically called Minds of Recovery for. So basically, our focuses are. In fact, I'm not even give you the. I'll look for it. So I'm off track there. So basically, our focus is to take a community asset approach. So I think Scotland's had the highest drug deaths for years. Last year, or 2 years ago, it was like 1,339 people died, and then the year after that, this was a kind of. Remember, this is people's lives. So they said this was like a success, like 1,330, so 9 people less. But you're still talking about 1,300 people dying. So for me, that's my biggest passion. But it's not just our priorities. But try to explain it as in. So I believed a lot of them. They couldn't get traditional. Sorry, that's pinging there. They couldn't get traditional methods of recovery, like fellowship or abstinence-based recovery. So one of our focus is on changing the narrative of recovery language. So I'm a big preacher, if you're injecting heroin, the word recovery itself means you're recovering something. You start to recover your health, your physical, your emotion, your mental well-being. So if I'm walking alongside somebody and they're injecting heroin and they start smoking it, to me they're recovering their health. So we're changing their mindset about how they look upon that. Or if you're on a prescription and society tells you no, you're not in recovery, then I would say no, who are you to say they're not? And there's human rights to back my argument up. But because you believe in that, how can we just not get together? How can we not talk together and change the narrative? Because it's all shite. It doesn't need to happen like that. What we're talking about the mental health. So I believe that contributes to drug deaths, the language of recovery. And how do we change it? And it's no isolating anybody, but recovery is it's quite hierarchy. It's really. So I'll get stigmatized because of my beliefs, and my beliefs are because I preach it. Only abstinence is the only form of recovery. And how do we change that? So we change it through education, change it through connecting with people. I know I feel there's a big lack of investment in living experience. So that contributes to a lot of factors. How do we change that? We change it with group work. We change it with social capitals. We just keep changing the narratives and see if it doesn't work. We change it again. We're like, right, that didn't work. A big aspect, I'll kind of rant, do you know what I mean? Because a big aspect is sports-based as well. Because so people don't talk about, a lot of people focus on their mental health or their trauma and addiction and neglect, like their kind of physical health, So we provide sports therapy, football, recovery fitness classes, walking talks, and it's all to change the narrative. It's all to change everything. But it was a long process. So that was my why for 5 years.
Yeah.
5 years I focused on how I was getting it. It took me 2 years after submitting my first paperwork. It took me 3 years to have enough knowledge to how to build a charity. For somebody that left rehab with a bag of clays, it was quite.
And on that knowledge, you've been away upskilling yourself, haven't you?
Oh, it's constantly.
So tell people what you've done, what you're continuing to do.
So I'm just currently my third year at Glasgow Uni, studying community development leadership. For somebody like me, I wasn't born to work with my mind. I say my times a bricklayer. I prefer using my hands, so it was hard, but it's a passion. My why. It's my recovery's invested in it, so it's and we also believe that we keep hearing the word empowerment and empowering people. I taken their group and empowered them. No, you didn't. Because see, if you did, do you know what was going to happen? You've got 10 people now looking at you as a power, and you can't be there for them. So see, so it's like me with that trainer. See, when I couldn't get my sponsor in a relapse, I broke down, crying my heart out. I put my power into him, whereas my power should have been in myself.
Yeah.
Because I'm an active citizen, I'm responsible for myself. So we teach self-empowerment and no to give your power to them. Then that's no me being, that's no us saying, you give power, but you can't empower anybody. Society keeps saying this word empowerment, and it causes a lot of damage because, let's be honest, if you were my power, Kev, like even though you're NLP and that, you've got your own family, you've got your own life, you've got your own mental well-being, and if you're invested, so in a recovery sense, the chances are you'll relapse. So we're trying to give them recovery capital, educational tools, connection, fun activities, sports-related activities, on the hope that they empower themselves. Because I'm not being egotistic. If I can do it, like I was really bad as an ad, I was really bad. But if I could leave school at 15 and be at Glasgow Uni, and that was through other people teaching me to empower myself and saying, no, like society will tell you can't do that. Or recovery will tell you this is what you need to do. But there was a thing, the Drug Death Task Force, so this is stuff, they're still looking at this now and they're trying to, so it's becoming less service-led recovery services, and it's supposed to be more person-led. So lived experience panels, community recovery forums, to get your voice heard and not become tokenistic. And this was made for the Drug Death Task Force report, and it transferred to changing lives. But this was stuff, lived experience, we were shouting for years. We've got a voice, we've been in the hole. Do you know what I mean? You're telling us how to get out it, but then walking away. Do you know what I mean? Treatment, all that has got a place, but we know how to get out it. If you just give us a chance, give us the resources. But the reality is sometimes I didn't say I took uni, but I had to grab the hooks by the horns because nobody was going to save me. Do you know what I mean? My boats were burnt. I was only going one way and nobody was stopping me. I was focused. I had doubts. Fucking many had doubts. I probably still, because now my wife's changed, that's the thing you forgot. So I said this to you, my wife was a charity. And you're like, what are you going to do when you get the why? And I was like, what? So now my why's changed. Do you know what I mean? I'll keep that for the next podcast. But so that's a whole new, that's an 5-year plan, and that sounds scary, 5-year plans. But if I was an addict for 20 odd years, 5 years in an, do you know what I mean? It's not a big a deal. But I'm impatient. If I could have it in 5 months, I'd rather have it in 5 months, but it'll take me 5 years to achieve what I want Minds of Recovery to achieve.
And on a personal note, you're now a married man and a
granddad, aye.
Life must feel very different at the moment in terms of your internal calmness and how you feel about where you are and who you've got in your corner and who you've got fight, who not only who you've got fighting for you, but who you've got to fight for now.
Well, this is going to sound weird, right? It does and it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Because that person, see who I'm on now, as if I've always been that person. And see Darren addict, even though, so I've always, well, in fact, I don't refer to myself as an addict, it's not really something I identify as, I'm just Darren. But it was another person, and I don't know if that's my coping mechanism or no. I don't know if that's how I don't talk about my past much. But that was a sad, you could greet for that boy, do you know what I mean? There's hundreds of boys and lasses like him, but just so emotionally immature and not got a clue, and a couple of daft choices, and they led to a lot of pain, hurt, and watching people die, nearly dying himself. and they can't even mend all that. Can't mend the hurt you've caused, and you need to look at that and do you know something? I can try. I'll never ever add to it. But reality is, there's a lot of pain and hurt behind that, and you've got to wreck it. And that's no you don't need to weigh yourself down with it. But for me, I had to accept that to move on for it. And I'm happy to say I've mended all my relationships. I don't think there's any grudges, or even what the strangers are, because you're just always like you're waking up and you're meditating, you're reflecting. What did I do wrong yesterday? And this isn't even just in the charity sense. This is just an active citizen and to be responsible. And I think I've carried that out in means of recovery. I think because we've been big in, me and the trustees and the people on board with us, we're big in reflective practices, and we're no fear to change things. We're no, you get some people that no, I spent 6 months on that and we're doing that. No, wait a minute, it's not working, but it doesn't matter, it's not working, damn. Well, do you know what? We're changing it. I don't care if I spent see if it's not working, I'm changing it. Because it's not about me, it's about the community, it's about the individuals, it's about humanity, do you know what I mean? No.
Right, let's bring it
Wrap
it up with a couple of wee questions, some quick fire questions, just to get some snappy insight in for you. If I was to ask you for the best bit of advice you were ever given, what would it be?
My go-to quote. So this is my motto. And this stops me moaning about a lot of things. Be the change you want to see. Be Gandhi. Be the change you
want to see.
So don't moan about anything. If you want to change something, you be that change. I have no control over you. I can't change you, but I can change the way I want to see the world to be.
Yeah.
Within me.
Good. I like it. Next question. What are you most grateful for?
My life. With all the hurt and pain and joy and sadness, and because it made me who I'm today, so I'm very grateful for that. Because it spills over to my other relationships, and I wouldn't have had the bit I've got to know without being that person. And so it's quite oxymoronic, and it's quite yin and yang, but
yep.
I'm grateful for that.
If you could give your 16-year-old version of you one wee bit of advice today, what would you tell him?
That you're not unique. That the things you feel inside you, hundreds of other boys feel that age. And go home to your mum. Because all the rest is shite. And I would tell all of them all that as well, all the 16-year-old that. So it's weird. So part of my uni, so I'd get kicked out of Irvine Royal when I was 15, like I said. So now after summer holidays, I've been working there. So it's just like a big full circle, do you know what I mean? Where I'll be working and I'll be in the unit, I'll be in the same kind of class. If it was out then, I would have been in. And I hope that I hope it makes some kind of, I hope I'm getting at my job for foot.
The fact that you want to be is a massive start. The fact that you've got hope that you can do it means that it means something more than just somebody who's just doing it because it's just, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have a go at that. It's driven by, you and I have talked about what motivates people. It's either motivated by coming away from pain or motivated kind of coming towards pleasure. you're coming away from a lot of pain, you know, and you're really motivated to make it the very best of this opportunity that you've got now, this life that you're now living fully. You know, I was recently at your wedding. I actually think you smiled that day. I might be wrong, but I think you did. Does he smile much this time? And then he smiles there, just to make it. But you know, I watched you that day with your beautiful wife, and I saw your handsome big boy there, your beautiful granddaughter, all of the other family, all just absolutely buzzing. And you can see that you're now motivated by a much stronger internal fire.
I think a day what a day for that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because then you appreciate that more.
Yeah. Good. Wow. Darren, what a conversation. I think we've rattled a couple of those there. So it's going to be an awful long walk that folk are going to need to do to listen to this out in their headphones. This, you know, we've covered a lot there. We've really had a real insight into the man that you've been and you're becoming still. We never fully get there. I know I'm not there. I know I don't think
I'm not there.
But
that's a whole new.
That's a whole new conversation. But I think this is going to land with men and women, people that get to hear another real story about a real person that's, you know, trying to navigate their way through this thing called life. I've loved it, you know, despite knowing a lot of it, you know, just to hear it in this sort of in-depth and detail with that authenticity, it's been magic. So I appreciate that, bud.
Cheers, it was good. So it was good to revisit some of the places too. I never thought I would. A lot of the alleys I didn't want to explore, or a lot of them hadn't visited for a while. So it was probably a lot of healing for me in that. A lot of bits of pain probably, but a lot of healing in it.
No, it's good, and a lot of people do say that on the podcast that it's not meant to be a painful experience, but you know, a lot of people do say it does help. It does help with the growth process in terms of, you know, being able to look at it in a very different, reflective way. So, for anyone, just before we go, you know, for anyone, this will be dropping when, you know, we'll make sure that we signpost you a little bit to some of the stuff that Dan's involved in. You know, if you feel like you're needing a bit of help, you know, in terms of maybe different areas, or you're just genuinely interested, you know, I will, of course, as always, signpost you to what I can. And of course, when this does drop, you know, give the podcast a follow, give it a share, let other people hear it. There's not only this episode, there's loads of other episodes that talks to real people with real stories. So, you know, I don't ask you to do that for fame and fortune. The podcast is a standalone, independent podcast. No sponsors, no nothing involved. It's just, you know, a humble guy that's trying to push the subject of mindset and mental health out there and make sure that it reaches as many people as possible, because someone might be suffering, or someone might know someone that's suffering, or just generally needing a bit of knowledge, as we touched on in this podcast. Connection is king, so why have people in isolation when this podcast can make a difference and help people realise that there is a way out of that hole? Remembering Dan's analogy, that story that he shared, it's a fantastic thing. There's somebody who's been in that hole before, and sometimes just listening to a thing like this could be the thing that helps them get out. So thanks for tuning in, and until the next time, I will speak to you all soon.
Cheers, thanks for having me.